25 years ago today, the NWO made their debut at Bash at the Beach, and I'm going to talk about why we don't necessarily need an NWO this day and age, but if we did get one, who ideally I think could be a part of that faction. One of the biggest summer festivals of the year, Rolling Loud, tours in Miami, and WWE is following right behind them. Jimmy Uso makes a clown of himself once again, getting arrested by police this coming weekend and landing another DUI charge, and why I firmly believe that he should be banned as a 205 Live for the rest of his career. And we got a big preview section of the Chill Spill podcast coming up. We have AEW Road Rager coming up tonight, the NXT Breakout Tournament possibly starting next week, New Japan Pro Wrestling Summer Struggle in Sapporo Nights 1 and 2 happening this weekend, MLW Battle Royale 3 also happening this weekend, and Stardom's 5-Star Grand Prix Tournament coming up at the very end of the month. This is your 55th edition of the Chill Spill podcast. The S is silent, by the way. Yo, what is going on, guys? It is your boy Tyler Mask, aka Suplex. That's SOOPLEX on TikTok and SOOPLEXX on Twitch.tv, aka Tyler-kun Williams, aka the one who lived. And guys, welcome. I said welcome 3 times. Welcome back to the 55th edition of the Chill Spill podcast, and that is pill spelled with an S, but it is silent, much like, you know, Jimmy Uso was during that mugshot he had to get taken of him last weekend. But we're going to talk about that in a bit. Guys, welcome back to the Chill Spill podcast. We are here. We are live. It's going to be a shorter edition. I want to try experimenting with going under an hour. So I had to cut a few topics I wanted to talk about out, but I don't think they're going to take up too much time. So that is fine. We're going to try and run under an hour and see how that does. How you guys like. Do you guys like shorter episodes? I mean, the last, I would say, crop of 30, 40 episodes I've done have all been an hour, slightly over an hour. But I want to experiment to see how under an hour episodes will do. So we'll try to condense that as much as we can this weekend. We got a big preview episode, a lot of wrestling to talk about. In the next episode, 56 is going to be a very big one. But let's start off with not so much news, but more of a trip down memory lane. Because 25 years ago today, at WCW Bash at the Beach 1996, I was born a year later, I feel old, we got the debut of what will be known as one of the greatest wrestling factions of all time. Many will even say the greatest wrestling faction of all time, the New World Order. Of course, I'm talking about the core 3 of the New World Order: Hollywood Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall. Now, I did not grow up on WCW, and I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that I have seen every episode or every pay-per-view of WCW, because at 24 years old, I still have not seen a lot of WCW. But I did see that debut segment, and it's still one of the most impactful and important moments in professional wrestling history. And for that matter, you have a lot of wrestling fans to this very day. I mean, we've been having wrestling fans talk about this for like the last 20 years, I feel like. Ever since the NWO died, fans will go on Twitter, social media, YouTube. Oh, this can be the next NWO. Who do you think should be the next NWO? Because, you know, when you're the greatest of something, everyone wants to replicate what the greatest thing is. And the NWO, like I said, will go down as the greatest wrestling faction of all time, even though I will argue the X's. But it will go down as the greatest of all time. It's absolutely goated. And when you're the GOAT, you often get replicated, people try to spoof you, all that kind of stuff. So people always ask, what should be the next NWO? And I think when I was younger, I always would kind of, you know, try to make my own NWO. But I feel like as I've gotten older, as I got into the age of 24, and as I started watching more yet less wrestling, I should say less wrestling from WWE, more wrestling from other places, I'm kind of like, why do we need another NWO? Like, why reflect back on the, like, it was a great time. It was a tremendous faction, but why move backwards? We don't really need an NWO. We are always going to have factions that try to be the NWO. That's always going to be a thing. But I don't think we need this 100% resurgence down to, because when people say they want a new NWO, they don't mean like, oh, we want an NWO like faction. They want a complete refurb. They want a complete redo of the NWO. They want 3 people. They want the same color scheme, the same entrance, the same vibe, the same everything. Just without Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall, because obviously guys in their 60s and 70s can't fucking wrestle. But if they could, I bet you they will want them to come back as well. I just don't think that's necessary in today's day and age. I mean, you got the Bullet Club in New Japan, which is basically the NWO for them. You got the Elite in AEW, which is basically like kind of sort of an NWO, I guess. More or less, I guess you could say maybe the Pinnacle. I don't know. You could debate who the NWO is in AEW. WWE really had the Undisputed Era in the last few years was their NWO. Impact Wrestling, I mean, of course, you can list off a litany of factions they've had in the past. You could say it was I almost said Guns N' Roses. Oh, Jesus Christ. You could say it was Aces and Eights. You could say it was Main Event Mafia. You could say it was almost a Legacy. What the hell? What was the faction called? It was Main Event Mafia, and it was one more. Was it Legends? It was the faction that was run by Kurt Angle. Hold on. What was the faction ran by Kurt Angle? Hold on. TNA, Impact, factions. Because I know Kurt Angle is a part of Main Event Mafia. I might be thinking about Main Event Mafia. What is the other faction called, bro? This is part of the podcast, by the way. We're actually looking this up. TNA, Impact, factions. I'm not going to stop until we look it up. Hold on. The worst I don't want the worst factions. I want the best Okay, Main Event Mafia, Planet Jarrett, Frontline, Fortune 4. I don't know why that cracked me up, but Fortune 4. That's the one I was thinking about. But the whole Main Event Mafia, that was Kurt Angle. Fortune was AJ Styles, Ric Flair, Bobby Roode, James Storm, Kazarian. That was Fortune. Except I see 5 men. That's where I don't know where Fortune 4 came from. That's 5 men. But you have Fortune, you have Main Event Mafia, you have a whole litany of factions that Impact Wrestling had, and it's like, okay, who could be the current day this? It's like, I don't think we need one. But I saw a question asked on wrestling Twitter by WWE asking basically if NWO was formed today, which WWE superstars would be the initial 3 members. I couldn't honestly think of any, but I screenshotted some other people's comments, and I figured I would take some time to kind of rate their factions and how I could possibly book them. Now, the first one I saw on here, which I responded to, was a guy who said Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, and Kyle O'Reilly. Yeah, it would be the Undisputed Era, but so what? Which is the big problem with wrestling fans nowadays. How are you going to... They're asking you, which current 3 wrestlers would you form as the NWO? They didn't ask you, what faction would you remake as the NWO? Because the Undisputed Era is a faction already. Why are you renaming a faction the NWO? That's lazy. So, forget him. But one of the top comments on this post was a guy who said AJ Styles, Finn Balor, and John Cena. 2 guys who were already some prior history together. AJ Styles, Finn Balor. And a long-standing good guy is a household name. You'd be hard-pressed to find a better Hogan analog than Cena. Maybe Roman, but he's not there yet. That'll come with time. I don't know about Cena, AJ, and Finn Balor, but I absolutely agree that if there was a reverb of the NWO, that John Cena would have to be like the Hulk Hogan. The only other person you could put in that spot is Randy Orton, but like we've already had Legacy, so I don't feel like we really need a Randy Orton in that spot. So I think John Cena as a heel, and we already see John Cena as the NWO in like the Firefly Funhouse match last year. So that's probably a good one. A joke when I saw was Jinder Mahal, Otis, and Nia Jax. That'd be funny as hell. Another one, how about Keith Lee, T-Bar from Retribution, which I'm going to guess is Dominic Dijak after Retribution, as the Outsiders, and a re-signed Daniel Bryan coming in to be the 3rd man. So Keith Lee, Dominic Dijak, and Daniel Bryan. I don't... Like, when I think of NWO, I think of, like, 3 heels that would wreck shit and just kind of take over. Like, I don't see Daniel Bryan as an NWO guy. Like, yes, Daniel Bryan was a part of Nexus, but then he got kicked out of Nexus literally like the day after, and he got fired. So I don't even count Daniel Bryan in the Nexus. Like, I don't see Daniel Bryan in that role. I mean, I know Daniel Bryan could be a heel, but I don't see Daniel Bryan as like a Hogan heel. Like, nah, that's not him. That's not him. You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that. Daniel Bryan's not that guy, pal. We got Andrade Miro, because you have to have guys who left WWE. I mean, who left AEW for WWE, because they jump ship. Andrade, Miro, and Jericho. No. We have John Cena as Hulk Hogan, LA Knight as Scott Hall, and Damian Priest as Kevin Nash. Okay, so these are the people who basically say, all right, if we're recreating a faction, we need to do it exactly how the original faction was. You have to have a big, tough guy. You got to have a really tall guy in Damian Priest. And then you got to have a somewhat heavy, like, LA Knight. Like, you don't got to be down to a T exactly carbon copy, like, in that manner. But I could kind of see what they were trying to go for. I could kind of see Damian Priest in the NWO role, oddly enough. I can see him there. LA Knight, I'm not too familiar with LA Knight, so I can't really say if he makes a good Scott Hall or not. But once again, John Cena as Hulk Hogan is a common trend here that I agree with. So, Damian Priest, John Cena, okay. And then we see AJ Styles, Finn Balor, and Adam Cole. Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of need a heavy in there, and none of those guys are heavies. So, I don't know about that one. Then we have John Cena, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins. I feel like that would work like 5 years ago when Roman and Seth were kind of like the start, like the future of WWE, but they're kind of the present of WWE. You know what I mean? Like, it's been enough time to where you can no longer say, oh, Seth and Roman are the future. Like, no, they are the guys in WWE. And John Cena was the guy already. Like, he is that old face coming back to really... I would kind of have a new generation guy in there, similar to Evolution, where you have one guy who's kind of like the past, and Ric Flair, the present, and Triple H, and then the future, Randy Orton and Batista. So you can kind of say the past is John Cena, the present is Roman Reigns, but then who is the future? It's not Seth Rollins. He's also the present. Then I also see John Cena, Randy Orton, and Dolph Ziggler. Oddly enough, when I was thinking about NWO ideas, I kind of wanted to see a faction reform. Well, not reform. A faction form of guys who were already in the top spot, but basically are coming back to just reclaim the top spot. Like, I think it would piss a lot of fans off, and I think that should be intentional. But think about this. A faction of guys who once upon a time were main event stars, like a John Cena and a Randy Orton, come back to team up and basically just annihilate the whole roster and just prove the fact that they are always the top guys and will always be the top guys. And then you kind of build up another faction or another, top babyface to kind of take down that faction. Like, I think that would be a good idea. Now, I don't think Dolph Ziggler would be in that faction because Dolph Ziggler was never a top guy, but you could definitely have a John Cena, Randy Orton in there. And kind of shade the Dolph Ziggler there, but he never was. Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, and AJ Styles. I can see Kevin Owens vibing in that faction. You know what? We were talking earlier about John Cena, Damian Priest. I can see Kevin Owens in that spot as the Scott Hall. I can see that. You know what? I saw another one in here. Samoa Joe, Bobby Roode, and AJ Styles. Like, come on. I don't need a fucking TNA invasion. But I think that if I were fantasy booking, and this is based off of what I've seen, not what I would do personally, I would probably say John Cena as Hulk Hogan, Damian Priest as Kevin Nash, and Kevin Owens as Scott Hall might work. All those guys are eloquent speakers. They all can wrestle. John Cena really is the past. I guess Kevin Owens, you could say, is the present, and then Damian Priest is the future. There you go. What do you guys think about that faction? What do you guys think about that NWO right there? John Cena, Kevin Owens, Damian Priest. Comment down below, let your boy know, because I actually got excited to think about that now. But let's move on to something that's not wrestling related, because once again, the Chill Spill podcast is not exclusive to pro wrestling, and that is Jeff Bezos. As of today, he has officially stepped down as the CEO of Amazon, which is a very big deal because he's been running things at Amazon for, I would say, nearly a decade, or if not over a decade now. I think when you think about the richest men in the entire world, Jeff Bezos is in that top 3 echelon, maybe top 5. Like, he's a trillionaire. The guy is a trillionaire. He's making like what, upwards of $10,000, close to $100,000 every second, I think. It's an insane amount of money he makes in a minute. Put it that way. He makes basically upwards of millions and millions of dollars every single day. Like, if this guy were to retire, he will never ever run out of money. His children will never run out of money. His grandchildren will never run out of money. His great-grandchildren will never run out of money. His great-great-grandchildren will never run out of money. Like, he has a whole legacy of greats that will basically be endowed. That will never go broke. I mean, does he have children? Let's see. Hold on 1 second. Jeff Bezos. Does he have a Jeff Bezos? It says he has a partner, but it doesn't say he has any kids. So, he's 50. I mean, he can have kids. He's a man. Men could have kids. Oh, never mind. It says he has 4 kids. He has 4 kids. I mean, slide in their DMs at some point. But anyway, back to my point. Jeff Bezos leaving Amazon is a very big deal for a lot of people, and I think it's a big deal for a lot of people in the stock market because people are now have their eyes on Amazon. Because Amazon 5 years ago had $700 a share, and now they're nearing $3,700 a share, which is an insane amount of money to invest in Amazon, but they've blown up so much over the last 10 years. And now that Amazon CEO is stepping down, the guy who's really made Amazon what it is, it's like, oh, well, what's going to happen here? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, now, it is going to be brought in. His successor, Andy Jassy, is going to be stepping in. Jeff Bezos reportedly is not retiring, but he's going to be moving and shifting his focus to his space venture, Blue Origin. So basically, he's going to be competing with Elon Musk and SpaceX, is what I'm reading from that. But Amazon is stepping away. I expect the stocks will probably fall for Amazon, which my question is, how far will they fall? I think it will fall because some people might, want to jump off the ship now that he's leaving because they don't really know how Andy Jassy will do. I'm not familiar with Andy Jassy. I don't know what his record is. I don't know what company he's run. But if he's a successor, obviously Jeff Bezos has good hope in him. So I have my eye on Amazon stock market, what's going on there. Another question is, what's going to happen with Twitch? Because Twitch is, after all, owned by Amazon. And with Jeff Bezos leaving, does Andy Jassy really care for Twitch? We don't know what's in this guy's head. Because if Andy Jassy decides, we don't really need Twitch. Because Twitch is a big platform for streamers, but at the end of the day, I don't really think Twitch is making a big profit for Amazon. So if they wanted to just nuke Twitch, they could, and I don't think they would really lose a penny. So, does Andy Jassy get Twitch? Is he in with Twitch? As a Twitch streamer myself, it's kind of, you know what I mean? But that's something I want to bring to your attention if you are interested in stocks at all. It's something to pay attention to. But now back to pro wrestling. WWE, they're back on the road now. Well, not now, but starting in 2 weeks, they'll be back on the road. And on July 23rd, they're actually going to be, much like AEW, in Miami. Also in Miami at that time is one of the biggest festivals of the year, Midsommar. I'm just kidding. Don't go to Midsommar. Rolling Loud, which I looked at the lineup. It's a very huge lineup of people. I kind of want to go to music festivals. I've never been to one. I wanted to go to Coachella last year, but then COVID happened, so that messed up plans. But if Rolling Loud's rolling in the deep like that, then I'm about to go next year, man. Yeah, maybe. But WWE is also going to be a part of Rolling Loud. Now, there's not going to be, performers like Bianca Belair ain't going to be stepping on stage and singing. I would kind of pay to see that, though. But we're going to have at least 2 live matches happening. Basically, SmackDown is going to be running in Cleveland, Ohio that weekend. But they'll be having 2 matches on SmackDown emanating from Rolling Loud, which I'm curious about how that's going to work because it's in the middle of a music festival. How are they going to set that up? I'm genuinely curious how they're going to do this because they're doing a show in Cleveland, but 2 of the matches on that 2-hour show are going to be at Rolling Loud in Miami. So basically, it's similar to WrestleMania 2, where they ran in 3 different cities. I believe it was Chicago, LA, and Florida or something. Don't quote me. But it's similar to WrestleMania 2. They're trying to run two different venues at the same time. It could be a train wreck or it can be done very well. And I might have to actually watch SmackDown to see how they do it. Just out of sheer curiosity. But I want to bring that to your attention as well. Another thing I want to bring to your attention is Jimmy Uso. I originally was not going to talk about it because it's not really my place. But I figured as someone who has to report on wrestling, it is kind of important to talk about. Someone who's in a main storyline in WWE right now with Universal Champion Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, has been arrested by police. It was on July the 5th, the day after 4th of July, that he was pulled over in Pensacola, Florida, around 10:35 p.m. after driving over the speed limit. He was taken out of the car by an officer. He smelled like alcohol. They observed him. He failed multiple sobriety tests. And then they gave him a blood alcohol test, and he tested at .205, which is twice the legal state limit in Florida. So he was arrested, and he was bailed out. But it's just incredible tomfoolery and clownery on his end to get DUI charged. Now, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, well, he should be fired or any of that kind of stuff. Because my thing is, if Jeff Hardy, who also got DUI'd multiple times in his return to WWE since 2017, if Jeff Hardy never got fired, never got suspended, then why should Jimmy Uso? You know what I mean? Like, there can't be a double standard. There can't be the new rule. Like, no. If Jeff Hardy didn't get it, then Jimmy Uso didn't get it. Now, I think it's dumb that this can just happen. But here's also the really stupid part on his end is that just 2 years ago, July 2019, he was arrested in Pensacola, Florida for a DUI charge. Just about everybody who listens to this podcast probably remembers what I'm talking about. The video of him and Naomi in the car and Jimmy Uso's getting all hot with the police officer and all that kind of stuff. Then he gets arrested. It was embarrassing. And the guy had to take a lot of time off of TV because of that. So now you're just wondering, okay, well, personally, that's him, his prerogative. I hope he gets help. Obviously, this guy has a problem and should be going to rehab or should be going to some kind of intervention or something. But I digress. My thing is, should WWE punish him? And like I said, if they did not punish Jeff Hardy, they probably shouldn't be punishing Jimmy Uso. However, what I would do is that I would not put him in a main event spot anymore. Because my thing is, if you're a main eventer, you're leading a pack, you're on shows, you're representing the company. If you're not reliable enough to come, because my thing is, at the end of the day, when you're driving drunk, you're putting other lives in danger. Who's to say that Jimmy Uso next time doesn't step behind a wheel and hit a wrestling fan? Or a person in general. That's a bad look on the company's end. And I bet you that if Jimmy Uso would have hit somebody, we're not saying kill somebody, but would have hit somebody and got charged with DUI, he probably would have got fired. Let's just keep it $150. If he hit somebody and got it, he would have got fired by WWE. No question, they would either suspend him indefinitely or they would have fucking fired him. But because he keeps on getting stopped before anything happens, they don't really do anything about it. But at what point could that happen? I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and predict that. But he is a danger on the road. And if he's a danger on the road, I would not bother putting him in the main event scene anymore. 2 years ago, that's a long time ago. You could be like, all right, we'll test waters with him. But now this is the second time. And Jey Uso was getting a very good push without Jimmy Uso in the picture. Now that Jimmy Uso's back, this is what happens? I don't know, guys. If it's me, Jimmy Uso ain't main event shows anymore. If it's me. Maybe maybe we'll revisit the situation in another 2 years. But for now, 205 live for him. 205 live for him. But speaking of SmackDown, I just referenced that earlier in the podcast. SmackDown drew its second lowest overnight rating since the move to Fox, drawing a 1.861 million viewer rating, which is pretty low for SmackDown ratings, which usually do around 2 million. And this is running opposed to Monday Night Raw, which their lowest ratings was a 1.4 million. I just want to bring this to your attention as well because I want to show you just how low the ratings have fallen for Raw and SmackDown since COVID hit. 1.8 million for SmackDown, 1.4 million for Monday Night Raw. Now the question is, they're hopping back on the road starting in 2 weeks. Will the ratings go back up? I think there will be a ratings boost initially. That first SmackDown, yeah, it's probably going to be a 2.5. That first Raw, yeah, it's probably going to be a 2.0, 2.2, 2.3. But what are they going to do to maintain those ratings? Because guess what? I'm going to watch SmackDown that week. I'm going to watch Raw that week because y'all back in front of crowds. I want to see the crowd reactions. I want to see the vibe is like. They probably going to start trying harder. What are you guys going to do to keep fans invested is my question. I see Money in the Bank. The lineup, not gonna lie, it looks good. I'm actually excited for Money in the Bank. And that's one of the first times in a long time I could say I'm actually excited for a WWE pay-per-view. This is a solid looking show. I'm genuinely excited for Money in the Bank coming up next Sunday. But after Money in the Bank, what are you guys gonna do? Leading into SummerSlam, what are we getting? I keep on hearing these things about John Cena, Edge. Okay, you're bringing back stars of the past. Cool. What about the stars of the present? You're going to bring back Brock Lesnar. Oh, awesome. He ain't going to be there next week. John Cena ain't going to be there next week. Edge might be there next week, but he ain't going to be there every single week. What are you going to do about the stars of today? What are you going to do about these storylines? What are you going to do about the women's division on SmackDown, which is depleting every single week? What are you going to do about the trash storylines we see on Monday Night Raw every single week that don't include Bobby Lashley or Drew McIntyre? Questions that need to be answered here before anybody even considers asking me to talk about Raw and SmackDown on this podcast. Because at the end of the day, I'm a podcaster, I'm a YouTuber, and I like putting out content that my people want to see. But at the same time, I am not a fan of forcing myself to watch content if I'm not going to enjoy it. I'm not giving any show my time if it's not worth my time and if it's not going to be enjoyable for me. I'm not giving them my time. So, they're going back on the road. I'm willing to give the first show that both Raw and SmackDown do a shot. So you hear from me. I'll be providing a Raw and SmackDown review for that first show back on the road. Now, I think that will be episode number 47, Raw. Let's see. I believe that's going to be, hold on, WWE Raw on the road. What episode is that going to be? July 16th for SmackDown, July 19th. So basically that's going to be next week. So not next week, the following week. So basically, the 57th edition of the Chillsable Podcast is going to be Raw and SmackDown reviews. So I hope you guys are pumped up for that. We got reviews next week, 56, and then Raw and SmackDown 57. But what are they going to do when I get to 58 and 59 and 60? I want you guys to comment down below for me. What kind of, put your booking caps on. What are you visioning for these upcoming shows? Comment down below, let your boy know. AEW, they're already back on the road as early as tonight for AEW Road Rager. And we're going to preview that show right here, right now. Chris Jericho and MJF are going face to face, but not in a match. They're going to have a standoff. I'm getting kind of sick and tired of every single week we have a Chris Jericho segment or an MJF segment. Can they just fucking wrestle? Please? It's redundant. I'm a bit over these segments. Like, the feud has been going for months now. I understand long-term storytelling. I love me some long-term storytelling. But every fucking week, do I need a segment between MJF, Chris Jericho, The Pinnacle, and Inner Circle? Every week! I don't need that. I'm over it. So yeah, I don't really care about this segment. I know it's going to be some stipulation, some stupid like, oh, well, you know, I'm going to have you with your arms tied behind your back, or you're blindfolded, or if you lose the match, you have to give me your Fozzy song. I don't know what the stipulation is going to be, but honestly, I'm ready for them to move on from this feud. They've been feuding for long enough. I'm ready for the next MJF venture. I'm ready to see MJF on TV at least 2 times a month. Wrestling. Because I know MJF doesn't like wrestling, apparently. Chris Jericho, wrestling. We're getting the Inner Circle versus in the Inner Circle versus the Pinnacle on that show. Jake Hager, Santana Ortiz versus Wardlow and FTR. Which is like, we literally just saw you guys wrestle each other in Blood and Guts first. And then secondly, we saw you guys wrestle each other in a goddamn Stadium Stampede match. But now we're going to a 6-man tag? Like, why extend this feud out any longer? It should have ended by now. I don't get it. But I'm going to say for the 6-man tag, I'm going to go with Wardlow and FTR to win. The Pinnacle is going to get another win over the Inner Circle. And then Jericho will obviously be MJF at the next show, whenever that's going to be. Darby Allin and Ethan Page have a sit-down. Originally, we're going to have a coffin match. But then after the events of Miami's, one of the buildings in Miami collapsing and killing all those people, they thought it was a smart idea not to do the coffin match. So, good on their part. Smart on their part. Sit down. Who cares? Chris Statlander and Orange Cassidy versus the Bunny and the Blade. The first ever mixed tag team match in AEW history. Now, technically, this is not the first. The first was on the Rager at Sea, cruise ship Chris Jericho held for AEW in 2020, which saw Kenny Omega and Riho versus Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford. So this is technically the second, but this is the first on AEW Dynamite television. Will we see actual intergender action is the real question. Will TNT be okay with that is the real question. I'm going to say that we aren't going to see it, but if they're bold enough to do it, I'm 100% down for it. But I'm going to go with Chris Statler and Orange Cassidy to win this one. We have Andrade El Idolo making his in-ring debut in AEW against Matt Sydal. I'm looking forward to this match a lot because y'all know I'm a big fan of Andrade. He has a match against Kenny Omega coming up next month, but, it's time to get him on AEW. It's time to get him circulating in that roster. I could totally see him contending for the TNT Championship very soon. And this match, Matt Sydal, shall be not a squash, but, a good showing for him. So I got Andrade winning this one. Then our main events of the night, we have the Young Bucks defending the AEW Tag Team Championships against Penta El Zero Miedo and Pac in a street fight. Should be a really good one, but I think that the Young Bucks retain. I thought they were going to lose the championships to Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston at Double or Nothing, and they did not. At this point, I really don't know who they're losing the championships to. If they lose to Pac and Eddie tonight, that's cool. I would prefer John and Eddie, but that's cool. I just don't see it happening. But then it also begs the question of who is going to beat the Young Bucks. They beat just about every tag team in AEW. I mean, can you guys list me a tag team that has not faced the Young Bucks in the last year? Because I really can't think of one. So I think the Young Bucks may need to chill out a bit. They might need to chill out a bit because what you don't want to do is beat every tag team in your roster and then nobody really feels like a possible contender for you. Now, I might have to look and see who is left, but that list is looking smaller and smaller every single week. And then what I assume will be the absolute main event of this show, Cody Rhodes versus QT Marshall in a South Beach strap match. I do not give a flying fadoodle about this damn match. I do not care. I never did care. And I won't care when it happens. But I predict that Cody will win. Cody will win. He will boost his ego because he's back in front of crowds. And he'll probably get attacked by somebody. And then he'll beat them too. But we're moving on from AEW. We'll talk about Fyter Fest next week when it comes up. NXT had a breakout tournament announcement last week. And this week we got the reveal of who's actually in the breakout tournament. I want to go through the names real quickly for you guys. Trey Baxter, the former Blake Christian of GCW fame, is in the tournament. I have a high probability of him winning it. He's very talented. A really, really, really high-end high flyer. I think a lot of people will be impressed by his work. Carmelo Hayes, who we've seen on NXT before quite a few times. He is the former Christian Casanova, who I'm a really big fan of. I've been wanting to check out some of his matches on NXT, but, I just haven't cared enough to watch NXT. But I'm really excited for him. We have a guy by the name of Andre Chase. Unfamiliar with his work, but looking forward to him. Josh Briggs, which is a name I heard quite a few times in independent wrestling scene. Now, I always mistaked him for Josh Brettel, who, if you guys remember that name, he was a part of Tough Enough Season 6. He was actually the winner of Tough Enough Season 6. The same season with, basically Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose and Sarah Lee and all those people. The Yeti. He was that guy. I don't remember what happened to him. I don't ever remember seeing him on WWE television after winning. Pretty similar to the Kevin guy from Season 5 of NXT. I never saw him on WWE television. What the hell happened to the last 2 seasons of Tough Enough, bro? I feel like the last 2 seasons of Tough Enough, both winners, the male and the female, never made it to TV. I don't know what happened there. But Josh Briggs, looking forward to seeing him wrestle because I never seen him wrestle, but I always heard his name. So there's a good thing about that guy. We have Ikiman Jiro, the former Jiro Kuroshio. Oh my, I butchered his name. Jiro Kuroshio. There we go. Of Wrestle 1. So he's a Japanese wrestler. I like his energy. I saw a match of his on 205 Live, and he wrestled in a goddamn suit jacket. So immediately, I love this guy already because that's something that stands out from the rest of the roster. He has a nice smile. He just looks different. He stands out. He's a dark horse pick. He's not winning it, but he's a dark horse pick for me. We have a guy by the name of Joe Gacy. Unfamiliar. We got a big brother in the house. 6'5" and 405 pounds is a guy by the name of Odyssey Jones. And he's the only other black guy in this tournament, so I got my eye on him. 405 pounds is a heavy set guy. Now, I see that guy and I think of Calvin Tankman of MLW. And if he is anything like Calvin Tankman, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch him wrestle. Then we got an Australian by the name of Duke Hudson, so he's losing. Anyway, that is the breakout tournament. I'm looking forward to this. I may actually watch NXT for this tournament. I say may because y'all know I don't care about NXT anymore. But I might have to actually watch it because this tournament looks lit. And I saw Tegan Nox is back on NXT this week. I see we have new NXT Women's Champions. Tag Team Champions. I can't speak. Y'all notice. I saw Hit Row is doing their thing. Like, I'm slowly but steadily starting to creep on NXT on Twitter and on YouTube. So I don't know. I might have to dabble my feet with it. But let's talk about New Japan Pro Wrestling now. New Japan Pro Wrestling Summer Struggle in Sapporo. 2-night event happening this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. I'm going to preview the card for you guys right here. Now, I'm going to tell you straight up. I don't really give a flying fadoodle about this card either. I don't really care about this show. They got matches on here that none of you should care about. I mean, there's like 3 matches tops that you should care about. But what? No, why does anyone care about this show? I'll read you the card. We have Kota Ibushi Master Wato versus Yota Tsuji and Yamura. Now, I'm excited, kind of, sort of, for this match because Yota Tsuji and Yamura, they're prime for a goddamn excursion at some point with the way they've been getting these gauntlet matches. So I'm excited to see where they go. But that's about it. We have Tomohiro Ishii and Yo versus Evil and Dick Togo. Now, Evil and Ishii, they've had bangers in the past, but we all know that Evil's moveset has been dwindled to absolute garbage. And he's basically a nothing wrestler at this point. So nobody really should care, but Evil and Yo probably going to win. We have Hiroshi Tanahashi, Ryusuke Taguchi, and Rocky Romero versus Kenta, Yujiro Takahashi, and El Phantasmo. I think Team Japan will win this one. Team Taguchi. We have Kazuchika Okada and Sho versus Jeff Cobb and the Great Khan. Still directionless with no Will Ospreay, it seems, but they're hanging in there. Okada and Sho probably will win this one. We have Shingo Takagi, Tetsuya Naito, Sonata, and Bushi versus Taichi, Zack Sabre Jr., Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and Doki. I'm going to say that the Bullet Club. Oh, God. Forgive me. I'm going to say that Suzuki-gun wins this one. And then the main event of that show in Sapporo. We have the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship on the line. So I'm excited because the Junior Heavyweight Championship is main eventing the show. Good for them. You have El Desperado versus Taiji Shimura. Now, this match has potential to be a match of the year candidate because I know just how talented both of these men are. I'm going to go with Despy to retain. But I read that card. I'll save it for the end. Let's go to night 2. On night 2, we have the team of Sho and Yuya Uemura versus El Desperado and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. I think that Sho and Yuya win. We have Tomohiro Ishii, Ryusuke Taguchi, and Rocky Romero versus Evil. I forgot the last time. I got it this time. Taiji Shimori and El Fantasma. ELPP. I think that Bullet Club wins. We have Hiroshi Tanahashi and Yota Tsuji versus Kenta and Yujiro Takahashi. I'm going to say that Kenta and Yujiro get the W. We have Kazuchika Okada and Yo this time versus Jeff Cobb and the Great Okan. Maybe United Empire gets the W here. And then we have Kota Ibushi, Master Wato versus Shingo Takagi and Bushi, all building up to the Shingo and Ibushi match happening at Wrestle Grand Slam in the Tokyo Dome coming up July 25th. I'm going to say that Ibushi and Wato win this match. And then the main event of that show, the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championships are on the line as Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr., the Dangerous Tekkers, take on a team of Sonata and Tetsuya Naito. A very new tag team match that I don't think I've ever seen. So I do have interest in that. But when I read you those two cards, do they sound like big or even semi-big New Japan shows? Or do they sound like Kazuna Road Tours? Do they sound like Road 2 shows? Do they sound like Hino Kuni Tours? They don't sound like a Summer Struggle. Last year's Summer Struggle was in the stadium. I understand he can't do stadium shows every single week, every single month. I understand that. But these shows don't really sound that appealing outside of the main events. Despy and Taiji and Dangerous Tekkers versus LIJ. Those two matches, those are new. I like that. But the rest of the card, I don't have a reason to really get invested. I don't feel like there's really a base story happening in New Japan right now. I say it again. New Japan is at its absolute weakest right now. And it's sad to see. And I hope they bounce back at some point. But please don't ask me why I'm not watching New Japan. Because the proof is in the pudding at this point. MLW Battle Riot is this weekend live from the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I was going to go originally, but I'm not going to lie. I was fronting and did not realize that there was going to be a lot of people wanting to go to the show. And by the time I got tickets, it was sold out. So I'm not attending, but I will be watching the show when it happens, which is coming up this weekend, July 11th. Battle Riots is a 40-man battle royal that starts with 2 men in the ring, a new participant entering the ring every 60 seconds. Eliminations occurs via pinfall, submission, or being thrown over the top rope. So basically, New Japan's Royal Rambo, except 100 times better. And the winner of the match will be eligible to challenge the current champion, Jacob Fatu, any place or anytime. Now, mind you, also, this MLW is a new season. Supposed to be a lot of a feel of a Lucha Underground, an Azteca Underground. We have the former, business owner of Lucha Underground is Dario Cueto. I forgot what his name is now, but he's running things, so I'm interested. I'm watching the show for that reason. On this match card, on this show, is the Battle Riot. And in this Battle Riot, we have the confirmed names. Tom Lawler, Simon Gotts, Ikiro Kwan, Joseph Samael, Kit Osborne, Sean Daivari, Davey Richards, Alex Kane, Buku Dao, King Mo, Arimus, Ross Von Erich, Marshall Von Erich, EJ Ndoku, or Induka, I should say, Savio Vega, Calvin Takeman, my homie, Gino Medina, the MLW Middle Heavyweight Champion Myron Reed, Mads Kruger, Kevin Q, Aries, Gringo Loco, TJP, Lee Moriarty, also my guy, Zenshi, the IWA Caribbean Champion Richard Holiday, King Muertes, the former Mil Muertes of Lucha Underground fame, and the MLW National Openweight Champion Alex Hammerstone. From the lineup I read, this is a very stacked Battle Royal. And you guys know I'm a big fan of Battle Royals. I'm a big fan of Royal Rumble. So I'm looking forward to this. Who do I got winning? I got 3 names. The first one, not going to lie, he's not on this list. but I could easily see a surprise entry being Jordan Oliver, who I believe is actually signed to MLW. I could see Big Breakfast coming in here winning the whole thing. Either he or Lee Moriarty, who is also a new signing from MLW, a really, really talented wrestler. Or I could see King Moises winning it. It is Azteca Underground they're going for. I could see him challenging Jacob Fatu and possibly being the one to beat Jacob Fatu. Dark Horse pick, I can also see Alex Hammerstone challenging, but I believe they already had a match, Alex Hammerstone and Jacob Fatu did. So that could be, but those are my three guys. Of the three, I think it's most likely going to be King Moises. But who do you guys got winning MLW Battle Riot? Comment down below, let your boy know. And finally, we're going to end things out here with Stardom. Now, I am late, but I have not watched the Yokohama Dream Cinderella show. I will be watching it tomorrow and giving a review of it that same day. But Stardom 5-Star Grand Prix is coming up at the very end of this month. If you guys aren't familiar, Stardom, much like New Japan, has their own G1 Climax, their own round-robin tournament called the 5-Star Grand Prix, which they hold every single year. And the winner of that tournament basically gets a future World of Stardom Championship match. Unless the champion wins, then they could choose who the challenger is. On this tournament, 2 blocks, Red Stars and Blue Stars. Now, I'm not going to preview the entire tournament because we don't know the entire match lineup just yet. And I'm planning on making a video doing a primer of this tournament, which I'm excited to do. But I'm going to give you guys just a reveal of who's in this tournament and who I got early predictions on to win. Early predictions. So in Red Stars, we have Mina Shirakawa of Cosmic Angels, Kaguma of Stars, Natsupoi of Dano del Mundo, Hameka of Dano del Mundo, Starlight Kid of Oedo Tai, Saki Kashima of Oedo Tai, Natsuko Tora of Oedo Tai, who is currently injured, so I think she's getting replaced, but as of right now, it's Natsuko Tora, Momo Watanabe of Queen's Quest, Mayu Watani of Stars, and Julia of Dano del Mundo. And in Blue Stars, we have Unagi Sayaka of Cosmic Angels, Ruka of Oedo Tai, Konami of Oedo Tai, Azumi of Queen's Quest, Maika of Dano del Mundo, Saya Kamatani of Queen's Quest, Tam Nakano of Cosmic Angels, Sayori of Dano del Mundo, Utami Hayashishida of Queen's Quest, and a mystery opponent participating in Blue Stars. So that is Blue and Red Stars. Once again, I'm not going to give you guys all too much because I'm making a video on it very, very soon, later this month. Keep your eyes out. But early predictions, like just looking at this list, I believe that Red Stars will either be won by Mai Iwatani or Julia, and I believe that the Blue Stars winner will be Sayori. Now, who do I got winning overall? Early prediction, I believe there is absolutely no one who should be winning this tournament outside of Sayori. The story is perfectly set between her and Utami, and I got to talk about that because they have a match coming up in that same tournament. But we'll talk about it on a future episode. And that was Chill Spill Podcast episode 55. What do you guys think? Comment down below. Let your boy know. I love you all as always, and I will see you all next week. Peace out, guys.